One of the charms of watch collecting, in my humble opinion, are the stories behind the watches themselves. Sure, most of the stories are fabricated for marketing purposes. Look, everyone is under the belief that the Rolex Explorer was a watch worn on when Sir Edmund Hillary reached the summit of Everest in 1953. However, by his own admission, he did so carrying Smith's instruments and a Smith's Deluxe watch. Goes to show you how Rolex is one of the biggest marketing case studies in history. Nonetheless, the Explorer 1 to me is one of the best everyday watches and a must-have in anyone's collection. There's a particular model, the 1016, that will be my absolute grail, but I'm happy for now owning the Explorer 1, reference number 114270. Today, however, we will be exploring, no pun intended, Balani's version of an Explorer 1016, and they're calling it, and I quote, Balani Affordable Tropical Dial 1963 Explorer Homage S4066AB. Yeah, I really think they need to work on the name there. This particular one is the black dial one. Well, it's a little tropical, but there is one that is actually fully tropical that looks more kind of like brown. The watch does retail for $199 on the steel bracelet and as low as $170 on a leather strap. Guys, just buy it on the bracelet. Trust me on that. Balani watches always, and I mean always, punch above their price point. I was excited to check this one out as I have been on the lookout for a Smith's Explorer, but I wanted to find out if I liked the look of the watch on my wrist. That's the beauty of homage watches. You can spend a little bit of money to get the opportunity to see if you like it, and if you do, well, you go all in and get the more expensive piece. I think this watch punches way above its price point. The proportions and specs for the price are pretty remarkable if I'm being honest. The entire watch is constructed of 316L stainless steel. The case measures in at 36mm, including the crown, 38.9mm. It's 43.5mm from lug to lug, in between the lugs, 20mm, and it's 12.2mm thick, including that dome sapphire crystal that does feature AR coating and creates some crazy distortions on that cool dial. The entire watch with the unsized bracelet weighs in at 133 grams, and best of all, the watch is water resistant to 200 meters, thanks to a signed screw-down crown that, by the way, does measure in at 6.3 millimeters, and it's super easy to interact with. Not bad at all. Honestly, this can be a one-watch collection for someone that's just getting into watches and is looking for a reliable watch that you can dress up, dress down. The case has a mixture of polishing and brushing that's actually been executed pretty well. The case, of course, resembles an Explorer 1, although I do wish they would have made holes on the case for that vintage aesthetic and easy strap changes. The sterile bezel has been highly polished and it makes the watch look the business. The dial, according to Balani, is not a deep black, but rather has been aged for that full patina, and so have the numbers, indices, and hands. I'm not really sure I'm in love with the full aging and would have liked to see an option for white, but hey, for the price, I won't complain too much. I guess one of the biggest complaints I do have is the simplicity of the Balani logo. In a way, I can appreciate that they're not pretending to be this big brand with a ton of heritage behind them. Instead, they chose the most basic font they can find and called it a day basically. I hope they rework the logo at some point, as I am a big fan of what they're doing, but not so much the logo. Legibility on this guy is great, and honestly I was quite surprised by the amount of lume this watch has. The company is using Swiss Superluminova GO Old that's been applied on the hands, indices, and unlike my Explorer 1, it's been applied on the numbers. The lume is pretty bright, and if I'm being honest, it was brighter than my 2008 Explorer. That's a true testament that you can get a lot for your money. Just like a Rolex watch, you get a sterile case back. That's cool if you want to engrave something, and it goes to show that, again, the company is not trying to be fancy with their wording, just creating a good affordable watch. The bracelet is really good, it's mostly brushed for that tool-like appearance, has a single-sided screw to size it, all the links are solid, the buckle has a male clasp and has been signed. I did notice the clasp is a little hard to open, but I'm sure it will loosen up after some time. The bracelet measures in at 20mm and tapers down to 16mm and back up to 18.7mm at the buckle. Also, the buckle has 3 micro adjust positions, and on my 6 7/8 inch wrist, the watch wore actually pretty comfortable. The movement being used is a crowd favorite, the SoCal NH38 automatic movement that of course can be hacked, hand wound. The movement does beat at 21,600 beats per hour and has a stated power reserve of 41 hours. And well, I won't talk about accuracy because Seiko movements are all over the place. I love that Balani chose to go with a true no date movement. That way the infamous ghost position is non-existent. Okay, let me tell you my true thoughts on this watch. Is it a good watch for the money? Yeah, absolutely. Would I recommend this watch to you guys? Yeah. Is the watch perfect? No, of course not. No watch is. All the edges of the watch do feel a little rough and a little sharp. The watch needs to be a little slimmer. The clasp definitely needs to be refined so it's easy to open. I personally don't like the patina on the dial. Honestly, all minor complaints that can be easily fixed for version 2.0. Look, the watch obviously lacks originality, but that's not a secret. It's an homage of one of the most iconic watches in the world. Let me know your thoughts on this watch, and do you think the 1016 is worth a crazy premium? As always, don't forget to follow my journey, be safe out there, and stay humble.